Hi everyone, welcome to the feedfeed test kitchen. I'm Julie from the feedfeed, and thank you so much for coming to Food Loves Tech today. I'm here with Danielle from Macarune, and she's going to be showing us how to make these beautiful macaron cookies, which are super intimidating for those home bakers out there. It's one of those things that I think everyone loves to purchase and enjoy. But when you are actually kind of in your own kitchen, these are very, very difficult to pull off the first time around.
Yes.
I think it takes quite a bit of practice. So you've been making these
for more than a decade now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of your journey to leading cookie demonstrations and your amazing Instagram account. If you don't follow her on Instagram, check her out at Macarone.
At Macaron. So I was born and raised in Malaysia. We're on the equator and it's really hot in Malaysia. My parents are great cooks. They never bake because it's so hot when we turn on the oven. So the oven's like kind of a storage. So growing up, we didn't really bake a lot of desserts. And when I graduated college, got my first job in San Francisco, I bought a KitchenAid mixer and went all out and started baking. While I was baking, this is more than 10 years ago. I'm kind of revealing my age a little bit here. I was doing cupcakes, cookies, and everything. But then I was reading all these blogs, and they were saying how hard it is to make macarons, or macaron, as the French call it. And so I was like, I could do this. I can do this. So I put myself up for the challenge. I did it. Failed miserably. Everything was flat, disgusting, like just didn't look like it should, did not look like this for sure. And I practiced and practiced and practiced and finally got it to the right, like I guess, shape and look and feel and taste that I like. So that was way back in San Francisco when I started giving them out to friends and family, and then they started to take orders from me, and I was featured in the San Francisco Chronicle and in like food blogs, and that was how I kicked it off.
Awesome.
And then I moved to Singapore, I took the business with me, and then now I'm in New York, and here I am.
Well, welcome. We're so glad to have you here today and showing everyone, kind of demystifying how to make macarons. So the first step that we're going to show today is what?
So the macaroon recipe that we're going to work with today is going to be an Italian meringue method. So the Italian meringue method is when you actually whisk eggs to a froth and then melt sugar and pour it into the eggs. This is very different from the French meringue method, which is where you just whisk eggs on its own and then fold it into dry ingredients. So let me walk you through the ingredients. We have sugar, egg whites, and water. These are the basis of the macaron shell, in addition to the almond flour and confectioner's sugar. So it's a gluten-free recipe, which is why it's so popular amongst the gluten-free culture today. And what I love most about macarons is how you can infuse different flavors into it and make it taste like rose and petals or violets to something like salted caramel and apple. There's a lot of flavors you could play with. So what we're going to do now, Julie, is we're going to put the sugar and the water into the pot. And we're going to, it's already a hot pot. We're going to boil it until it hits a softball stage. Softball stage is basically 234 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a stage where when you're making candy, it's not too hard that it's chewy and sticks to your teeth, but also not soft enough that it'll just like melt into nothing. So it holds itself well.
So it's important to invest in a candy thermometer.
Only the Italian meringue method.
Only for the Italian meringue method.
Yeah.
Okay.
As we're doing this,
You want me to turn it up to bring it to a boil?
We could.
Okay.
We should probably
I'll watch
whisk
that.
the eggs.
Okay.
It'll beep. So meanwhile, that's boiling. I'll put the egg whites in the mixer. This is gonna get loud. And I'm gonna start mixing it. That's good, it's hitting the bottom.
Perfect. And talk us through what we'll be doing after this. So once we have made our Italian meringue, what will we be demonstrating afterwards?
So usually I'm doing 3 things at once in the kitchen. While this is frothing, I can see small bubbles gradually filling up the sides of the bowl. That's at 110 degrees. So this is when I start mixing the almond flour and the confectioner's sugar. This is what the French call the temps potent, which is like 1 for 1. This is equal amounts of sugar with equal amounts of almond flour. And if you want your macaron shells to be really smooth, like on the top like this, you should use a mesh sieve to like sieve them. But in the interest of time, and since we're all here, let's just dump it all in the bowl, yeah? That makes it easier.
Yep. All right, so the egg whites are whisking up nicely here.
How's it going?
And we are at 195. And so we're going up, you said, to 234 degrees?
It will be. I would caution everyone here, if you're doing the Italian meringue method, to be very careful, because boiling sugar is not, you don't want to get boiling sugar on
it's
yourself.
very dangerous. Yeah? Oh, did we run out of...
Yeah, a little technical difficulty here.
1 second. This is at 224. Once I get it to 234, I will switch the cords.
Something
because we
going
just
on here?
We've had some power outages. There we go.
Whew.
All right, I think we are almost there. We're at 226.
Looking good. Meanwhile, I'll just mix this up.
Okay.
So that it's even.
$230. Okay, we have it beeping here. Does that mean we are at our temperature? Almost there. 232.
Okay, this is looking really good. It's frothing up till here. It was down here earlier. Okay, I'm gonna grab it from you, Julie.
Perfect.
If you wanna step back. So it's beeping. I'm gonna have it at the highest stage, and I'm gonna gradually pour it down. See how the sugar syrup pours?
Perfect.
And then we're done with this. Good turn.
I will turn this off now.
I'll show you how this looks in a little bit, but it's beautiful. It's almost like a marshmallow meringue, and you could actually eat this right now.
So for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Julie from the feedfeed, and I'm here with Danielle from Macaron, and we are making an Italian meringue right now. We've just demoed that live on camera.
So
and how long do we let this go for?
Usually I go on high for about 2.5 minutes or so.
Okay.
And then I'll do like low so that it stabilizes and cools down.
Yes.
You feel how warm it is.
Yeah, it's very warm.
Yeah, for about a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. I encourage all home bakers to always have all your tools ready and everything measured up front, so that you don't stress out when things happen, because it's all about timing. Like when I'm baking at home and my husband's like, could you come see this on YouTube? And I'm like, I can't, I'm in the middle of this. Like, it's all about timing.
So you're expecting a baby in how many weeks?
2.5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Really good, actually.
You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a great ride, so hopefully the baby's good.
And this is your first child?
Yes.
Awesome.
It is. I tell everyone I ate too much macaroons. So I kind of like...
This is looking beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's about okay.
Yep.
I'm going to turn it down to slow a little bit. It's warm.
Yeah, still warm.
Stiff. I think it's about ready.
Okay. Can you guys see that?
So, I'll show them. Here.
Got that?
Oh.
You want me to get it?
Actually, I don't really know.
I think we need to move it back. Up. Let me see. No. There we go.
Yeah, it's forward. So the true test of whether your meringue is ready, because it's really stiff, Julie, are you ready for this? I'm gonna
Yes.
put it over your head.
Okay.
Is to put it over someone's head and it won't fall, so you'll see it.
That's a great
all.
trick. Thank you. You learn something new every day.
So I tap it on the side so I don't lose all of it. I always have fluff on my body, my hair. But let's get that off. But then now is when we do the macaronage,
Okay.
which is applying this onto your mixture of almond flour and confectioner's sugar. I like to start in parts so that it's not like dumping the whole thing into the bowl, but rather like break it into 3 parts.
Okay.
I'd say. You want to try this?
Yeah, sure.
So you scoop from the bottom.
Are we folding?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to be gentle with it on the
Okay.
first round. That's a great thing. So a lot of the common mistake that people do at home is that they think they have to baby
Right.
this batter and they're like very careful with it and they undermix it, and then when they actually pipe, the shells are hollow, or they pipe it and there's a peak and it won't go down. Whereas if you just mix it as roughly as you can for that first bit of meringue,
Yeah.
and then as you gradually add more, that's when you start feeling it
Okay.
add a little bit
Yeah,
more.
because it's actually quite clumpy
Yeah.
right now. It clumps
Which
right
is okay.
onto the flour. Yeah.
So you could flatten it against the side of the bowl
Okay.
and kind of like,
Yeah.
Homogenize
Actually, that's a
it.
great idea.
yeah.
Flattening it on the side
There
of the
you
bowl.
go.
Okay.
It's also not the usual bowl that I'm used to, so it's okay to get messy when you're baking.
Okay, great. So when do you bring the second batch in?
So when you feel like it's been incorporated into the flour, that's
Okay.
when you start bringing in the second batch.
Perfect.
Let me know when you're tired and you want me to take over.
You can go for it.
This
I'm
has
not
been-
tired, but
This has been my workout the entire
yeah,
pregnancy.
it really. Yeah.
Just
Do you switch arms?
sometimes, but see, it's dry.
Yep.
So it's harder to homogenize. So that's when you add more.
Yep.
I'm gonna use my lucky spatula, which I brought
Super cute.
as bumblebees. So just keep adding them. It doesn't look heavy, but it's actually quite a thick batter to
Yep.
work with, right? So sometimes I go down to the bottom of the spatula to get more leverage.
Uh huh.
And
Yeah, it's not really a traditional folding technique.
yes,
It's more of kind of a fold and smooth.
yes. And the reason why is because you want to break up all the air bubbles that are in the meringue to create that paste of sorts. Okay, Julie, you want to give me more of the meringue?
Sure.
I think we're ready for it.
Do you want all of it or just about half?
I think we could do all of it.
Okay. Beautiful meringue. And so why do oftentimes this particular batter, why does it flatten out? You know, just in terms of like kitchen fails, that often is a common complaint
If you,
from bakers.
it's a good question. If you over mix it and you pipe it, it will start to flatten out
Okay.
because it becomes too liquidy to work with. Use my spatula.
Your lucky bee spatula.
Yes. Even today, after baking macaroons for more than a decade, there are still some kitchen fails when I try a new oven or when I do it at a friend's apartment or something, which is crazy
Yep.
because you would think that I have it down to a science.
And what do you bake these at?
Sorry?
What temperature do you bake them at?
I am unconventional. I tend to bake them a little bit lower,
Okay.
so around 275 degrees Fahrenheit.
And for how long?
for about, also unconventional, for about 12 minutes, which is not too long. A lot of people will bake it between 325 to 375 at 13 to 15 minutes, even longer.
Okay. So you're cooking at a lower temperature. You're baking at a lower temperature, but the timing isn't that much longer.
Yes. 1 minute makes a difference. 30 seconds make a difference. If you're baking white macaroons, a lot of people ask me, how do your shells look so white? Like most people burn them on the sides. It's because of the length of the temperature.
Okay.
I already have meringue all
No, you're
over.
good. You're good.
Okay.
Let me get you a paper towel.
But the reason why I bake them lower is because there's a tendency for macarons to crack if you bake them at a high temperature up front. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make at home. And another reason is because I don't like dry shells. I understand that there's an appeal to like a smooth, beautiful, hard shell on the outside that's sturdy, but then when I put the cream in the middle, and personally I feel like there's a nice level of crisp on the outside and a softness on the inside that makes macaroons taste so good. So I tend to underbake them a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice tip.
So we're almost there.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
tell us-
normally this long.
What is the next step in the process?
So after, this is not ready. As you can see, there's still bits of meringue. So you want it to be smooth flowing, which
Yeah.
I'll show you in a little bit. The next step is to put it into a piping bag.
Okay.
Maybe you could do
Yeah.
that.
I can
the
do
big
that
one.
if you want to finish.
Here. And put it into the...
Yep.
And then we'll pipe it into little circles.
So tell us about this tip that we're about to show, filling a piping bag.
So-
This is one of the another common kind of complaint from home cooks. And is this what you want me to do? Right in here?
I'd say the first tip is to fold this so it never flows out.
Okay.
And then push it down and fold the plastic over. That makes it easier for you to pour your batter into the piping bag without getting it all over the place.
Yep. So you use just a wide mouth ball jar for
Yes,
that?
pretty
Okay.
much. So you see it's starting to come together. And another common mistake for macaroons cracking in the oven is if it's undermixed and you can see strands of meringue separating from the batter. That's when the meringue actually tries to harden and get out of the shell and will crack all of your shells, which is something you want to avoid. So this is why macaronage, which is what I'm doing right now, which is a mixing of a batter, really important. This is the make or break step, Julie.
Okay. You've got it.
We are almost there.
Another good tip is don't lift weights the day before you attempt to make
Your arms
these.
are like...
Your arms will be too tired.
So I can see it. It seems like it's mixed, but it's not because it should be flowing a little bit more. I have friends who are engineers who bake and they say like, it's a science, I should get this right. Like I don't understand why my macarons don't turn out because there's also an art to it. Like when you look at how you're folding, like we could be doing the exact same thing and feel like we're following all the steps.
And is there any
not
sort of
hitting it.
industrial method for doing this, or are all macarons made by hands?
There is actually, I had read that La Durée actually does it in the factory, so...
Okay.
Yes, there is an industrial way to do it. If you're
But
a
not
multi-billion...
really for the home cook.
No.
There is no tool that I'm aware of,
Not
or
that I'm aware of.
kitchen appliance
Yeah,
that
not
will help
I'm
with this
aware of.
part of the process.
So, see how there's still bubbles, like holes around it? You want to flatten it all out and go around and scoop from underneath. And then you test it out by seeing if it breaks, and it still does. So, let's give it another whirl.
Okay.
Until it softens a little bit. So that it flows. Want to feel it, Julie?
Yeah, sure.
Just to get a sense of how it feels?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually quite thick now.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
But it should flow a little bit better than earlier.
Yeah,
when
definitely.
you were handling it, yeah.
Yep.
So. I think it looks good.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you want me to pull this down all the way or keep
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's really warm
I didn't know how much
back here.
we would have in there.
Okay, let's see. So I don't know if you could see.
Yep.
There. It should flow. They always equate this to how a volcano would look if it started erupting and the magma would flow. But I'm like, who's ever seen a volcano up close?
Perfect.
So we're good.
Here, I can take that out of the
Okay.
way.
Ooh.
I'll bring a towel for you too.
And here is when you pull it out. And then I like to twist the top and turn it upside down so you have leverage and you hold it right.
That's a
And
good
then
question.
that's when
I
you
don't
start
know.
piping. So I already have a tray. And the common shape for a macaroon is a perfect circle. And when it bakes, it should have the perfect little feet around it, as you can see. But when you pipe it, you won't see the feet just yet.
Here's a wet paper towel if you want to
Thank
wipe your
you.
hands.
So I'm gonna start piping a couple.
Okay. Often there are like a silpat with the actual shape that you pipe into. Do you use those or you like to just kind of eyeball it?
I personally prefer parchment paper because it's easier for me to remove the shells from the parchment paper. Silpat's a little heavier.
Yep.
But it does wonders for macaroons because it keeps them stable. So what I do is I take a shot glass, turn it upside down, and draw circles as a template.
Okay, right on the parchment.
Yes. Well, right on the parchment underneath, and
Yep.
I'll just pull it out.
Love it.
I also do shapes. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see like I can do flamingos or apples, anything really. And a lot of times I either freehand that or I'll like print out a template and follow it through.
Okay.
But see how there's like when I pipe it, the tip is still there.
Yep.
There's a little trick to get rid of that later. You want to
Okay.
try?
No, you can keep going.
I'll do a couple more and I'll let Julie try.
Yeah. No, I'll do it in a second.
So this is the time when if you want to sprinkle dry ingredients on your macaroons, this is the time to do it. So if you have rainbow jimmies or rose petals or cocoa powder, any of those dry ingredients would do well to decorate your macaroon and add some flavor to it. Here.
Okay. Thank you. So how much pressure do you want me to apply?
There's no right or wrong. It's the art side of it. So
I think I
feel
did
it
too
out.
big. Too big.
You could go low, and it's easier for you to. There you go.
Oops. I'm gonna go.
And you see how you want to avoid that, and if you by pulling out from the side,
Okay.
as opposed to up, you can avoid the peak. That's better.
Yeah. I haven't made these since culinary school,
Good job.
which was
I
a
could
long
do the
time
last
ago.
one to show
Sure.
like a comparison of how I pull off of the.
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
look more like a Hershey Kiss.
So I go low,
Yep.
and then I pull out from the side.
Side.
Yeah, but
Beautiful.
don't worry, because this is the fun part. Not so fun for my husband and my kitchen counter because this is when you tap it,
Yep.
like really hard. I don't know if this is a good place to do it. To get rid of all the bubbles and to get rid of the peaks. So you can go like, see it goes down a little
Yep.
bit more. You can keep doing it for as long as you want until your peaks go down.
Okay.
So that's my trick.
Great trick.
See how it's getting rid of it.
Yep. Awesome.
So yeah, we just piped a whole bunch of macaroons.
Thank you.
And normally You could either stick it straight into the oven and have it baked. There's a higher tendency of it cracking if your meringue is not folded into the batter properly. So a foolproof way is to leave it out on the counter until it dries, and then you can touch the top without getting it sticky fingers.
Okay. And how long is that usually?
It depends on the humidity.
Right.
So if it's really humid outside, I'd say like about 30 to an hour.
Okay.
But sometimes it could just be fine 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay. So I'll put these back here, and we'll test them in a few minutes.
Let's see.
Okay, great. So now what are we going to do?
So meanwhile, I have these perfect macaron shells that I baked prior. See, when I said I baked it in lower temperature, you can see already that it's not smooth. There's a little stickiness to it.
And do you like that because the ganache then attaches a little bit better to it?
Yeah, I do, and it absorbs into it and creates this really moist center, which I love in my macaroons. But what we're going to do is going to pipe it with chocolate ganache that I already made prior. So this is another way to fill just holding it in one hand. And this is a smooth ganache that I made this morning. And we're just going to pipe the shells and fill them up.
Are you guys excited to taste these? And you made these earlier as well. Our booth today is sponsored by Miraglen Organic Tomatoes. And so Danielle was kind enough to pipe out and create these amazing tomato-shaped macaroons.
There.
So we can enjoy those as well. Oh, that looks great.
So the thing about macaroons is that they taste different when you pipe them like now versus if you put them in the fridge overnight to let it set.
Yep.
So this is a good time to, if you were to taste this now, to feel how it actually tastes versus if I were to keep it in the fridge overnight, which is what most stores do.
Yep.
To let it set.
Do you prefer it one way over the other?
I like macaroons always. So I don't have a preference, but I do, when I do present them at a party or an event, I always let them set the night
overnight.
before. Especially when you're doing a flavor that's not as black and white as chocolate and vanilla. If it's something like rose or like hibiscus, you want it to infuse into the shell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Want to try, Julie?
Yeah, sure.
I could fill it up with more.
So how much do I go?
There's absolutely no right or wrong here. As long as the filling gets on the shell, you're good.
Perfect.
And the amount is up to you.
You're going to squeeze it together.
That looks really beautiful.
There we go.
Here, I'll open these up for you.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Danielle? Yes.
Yes. We talked about this earlier when if you overmix it, it will flatten it out when you pipe. So sometimes it will turn into a puddle of a circle as opposed to a perfect circle. It could still taste the same. Macaroons can still taste the same. They whether they're cracked or broken or hollow. It's just if you really want to go for the perfect circle and the perfect feet and the perfect bottom, that's when it gets tricky. Oh, good question. So the question is, when do you add food coloring into the macaron batter? I tend to use gel food coloring. So I actually add that to the egg whites. Yeah. Here.
What are some of your favorite flavor combinations?
So I love salted caramel.
Yes.
And last fall, I actually made a salted caramel with spiced apple in the middle, so that's really lovely. I'm feeling very fall right now, so pumpkin spice is another one that I love.
And so again, where is that flavor coming in? Is it both in the batter and in the ganache?
That's a very good question. So if you have dry ingredients, like for example, if you're making a raspberry macaroon and you have dry raspberry powder, you could incorporate that into your shell. So in the batter earlier, you could incorporate the raspberry, you could sieve it into your tampotan. But if you don't have dry ingredients, your shells could be basic, but then the buttercream or the ganache could absorb a lot of that flavor. and there are so many different recipes out there if you just Google them. But I like to add fresh raspberries into my raspberry buttercream, which is essentially a Swiss meringue buttercream. And then I would sprinkle freeze-dried raspberries to add that extra tart taste to it.
Actually, we have an entire feed on our website dedicated to macarons, so check it out.
Yes.
With tons of our favorite recipes.
That's great.
And I'm sure do you have a website with recipes?
I don't at the moment, but I'm planning on sharing them on my Instagram. So over time, if you follow me, I will definitely share recipes, I promise. I should also add that almonds are not the only type of nuts that you could use on your macaroons. If you use ground pistachio, it'll be what pistachio macarons are made of. I've also done hazelnut. You could do PB&J, which is peanut butter and jelly,
Love
and
that.
you could grind some peanut, but some nuts are oilier than others, so you don't want to use 100% peanuts. For example, you could grind half peanut and then half almond, because almond is the better, more stable basis for a macaron shell.
Okay. And is there a particular type of almond flour that you prefer to use?
I've tried them all.
Okay.
I used Bob's Red Mill for the longest time, and then I ordered the Californian almond ground. I prefer blanched almonds because it creates a cleaner, smoother shell. But you could also use almond flour with the skins on them as well. It creates a rustic look to it. It'll be speckled. Shouldn't be a problem. More questions? I have heard that coconut works. I've never tried it myself, so I can't really vouch for that. I'm all like nut, dairy.
Okay.
But yes, I have heard.
So are we ready to let everyone sample these?
Yeah, for sure, please. Here.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you so much for coming to the feedfeed Test
Oh,
Kitchen
thank
today,
you.
Danielle, and showing us all of your tips and tricks for how to make the perfect macaron.
yeah, thank you
so
for
much.
having me. I really appreciate being here.